Okay, this is my first kiln opening video. Hopefully the lighting is good. I can't really do anything about that shadow that's there. And yes, I am optimistic, but not overly so. So why is there a huge cracked piece? Basically this is a piece that broke in the bisque fire that I was hoping to use as a test piece for a glaze. There's quite a few different glazes in here, some of which I don't use that much. This broken platter here is actually Amaco's Midnight Surf, I believe, is the name of it, and a lot of these pieces are very hot still. Okay, so these pieces are pretty hot, but I am going to go ahead and unload the kiln anyways because it's warm out, and I think it'll be okay. I'm going to use this really old pot holder, so sorry, it's pretty dirty, but with the sun on it, this glaze is actually just blue here out of the kiln, but it is supposed to sort of break to a green. It looks pretty good on this white clay, so this is really just a test piece, just to see what this glaze would do, because it has been sort of brown in places, and this was a pretty thick, I would say I probably did as much as 4 coats of this, and that's Amaco's Midnight Surf, so let's get rid of that. So this was a cone 5 out of this old Paragon manual kiln. It has been pretty consistent. Here are the witness cones. This is 6 right here. These are just junior cones, so it is hard to see, but oh well, that's 5 in the middle, so it looks like it was at least a beginning of a 5 here on the top. This is a strange kiln in that it tends to be hotter on the bottom and not the top, and it probably is just because of the way that I arrange the shelves, at least the way that I have to do it. Now I make a lot of tiles here, so we're going to see a lot of those. A lot of them might look the same too, and this is something I tried to redo, just a seahorse tile. I'm going to take that out. Pretty hot. So the Dragonfly tile is a glaze that I've been pretty happy with. It is Coyote's Mottled Blue, and that's all it is. And I usually do about 2 coats for my tiles. I use my tiles in my business that I have called Featherstone Gardens. I use quite a few tiles, so I go through a lot. Usually now I'm doing about 1 glaze fire per week, so at this point in the season, it's February, so it's high season here in Florida. Been very happy with this glaze. It's a very good blue. It shows up the relief and the detail of the tiles really well. So I'm just one of the reasons I wanted to do this video is to tell people about glazes. I've watched a lot of videos from other people, and I appreciated those a lot, and I wanted to do what I can to help other people out. But a little bit of pinholing on it. This is, it's an earthen red clay. It can only go to cone 5 at the most. So this maxes out this clay here, and I've noticed that when you do that with this clay, particularly with the tiles, because they're so thin, that the glaze is, sometimes it reacts in very different ways than it would otherwise with maybe cone 6 clay. So I do have issues with this clay, but I like it a lot in that it shows up the detail of the tiles. But I am going to try to find a different clay that can go to a higher temperature. And this other little tile was just a refire. I put some extra glaze on there, and it's okay. So let's go down to the next level. This is actually kind of hotter than I thought it was. Had the kiln open for a while here. Okay. Not much on this level. The arrangement of the shelves is a little bit weird because I had to get a lot of tiles in here. And it is a small kiln anyways, so it's kind of hard to adjust the shelves so that I can get a lot in. So these sun tiles is another Coyote glaze. This is called Goldenrod Shino. I like it a lot, particularly on this red clay. I think it is great for showing relief. It has worked out well. It was the perfect glaze that I needed for these tiles. Again, Coyote's Goldenrod Shino. I usually only do 2 coats again of any of the tiles just because I don't want to cover up the detail. And I do these tiles, I made the mold for this one, and it's just a bisque mold, so it's just something that I pressed into bisque to make the mold. Okay, so it's pretty hot, so I don't know, we may not make it all the way to the bottom of this during this video, I'm not sure. Pretty happy with Deep Olive Speckle. That is a Potter's Choice glaze. Basically what I do is just wipe away glaze sometimes so that it shows the actual design of the tile a little bit better. Hopefully that's in range. Maybe if I can zoom in on that piece. Probably the quality of the video is not going to be fantastic either, because it's just my camera that I'm using. So it happens to take about 20 minutes of video. I'm going to take this other shelf off. It's extremely hot. It's probably 400-degree kiln here still, so probably should wait a little bit on this, but rushing it a bit. I haven't had any issues really with taking things out a little ahead of time, but I suppose the glaze could shock even though it's warm out. So let's see if I can get that in. So that's Deep Olive Speckle all by itself on the Earthen red clay, and that is actually Highwater's Earthen red. And like I said, it maxes out at cone 5, so it is extremely vitrified at cone 5. But it does turn very dark, kind of almost like a chocolate brown. And it does look real nice with darker glazes on it. I can just, it's a smaller sun tile with the Goldenrod Shino on it. And another one, Dragonfly with the Deep Olive Speckle. And that's something new that I'm using. And since I'm painting it on, I'm just using it by the pint, so it is a little bit different than dipping it, but it didn't break like that before, which I like that look better. Maybe because the way that I wiped off the glaze, I'm getting some, darker spots where the brown's coming through. Or I just didn't put a nice even coat on, but I like it the way that it looks there. Okay, don't know if you can see in. I might just move this around. See if we can see a little bit better. Gonna have to take off this shelf. Aha. Looks like most things have survived here. Get rid of the post-grown pieces at the bottom of the kiln, so other than tiles, there might be some survivors hopefully at the bottom. I'm tending to put my higher fire clay at the bottom, so there should be mostly cone 6 clay at the bottom. So what we have here, I do a little bit of slip casting right now. Again, this is just pieces for my other business. And I was afraid that this would stick, but it didn't. Let's see. I'm going to set him right here. So it's a slip casted frog. So there's more tiles at the bottom here. And it's the same glaze again. It is the Mottled Blue by Coyote. So here we go, try to show that. So it's a very good blue, pinholing a little bit on this red clay, but I'm not going to mind that too much just for tiles. But I think it is a very good blue if you're looking for something that's not a light blue, but more, I think it has more of like a cobalt blue to it. And it does show up any relief pretty well. I've been very happy with that. So we also have more olive green, deep olive speckle. It's actually called Potter's Choice. And I did a few test pieces too. So it's another frog, and that just has the deep olive speckle on it. And the frog is broken because it didn't come out of the mold well, and I wanted to use it as a test piece. This is actually the first glaze fire that I've done with the slip casting. It's Laguna's Antique White clay, slip cast clay. And this is Sandstone Shino on this turtle. I think it shows up pretty well. And that's of course another Coyote glaze. I'm not too happy with this. It was supposed to be a magnet, a fish magnet. And what it is it would be turquoise glaze by Amaco, and that's their Sahara line. It doesn't show up the relief very well, so, and this is Speckle Brown Stoneware, Highwater Speckle Brown Stoneware, so it's really not something for tiles, I don't think. And sorry about the ratty old pot holder, but I'm out in my shed. This is where my kiln is, so it's not exactly the nicest space, but good spot for a kiln. This was just a test piece, and this is actually the exact same glaze on a white slip. So this was a slip casted piece, and it looks a lot better on white, so I'm going to have to probably just use white clay for this turquoise. I think it really looks very different. So maybe it has something to do with the iron or something that's in the other clay, but I have not liked it on brown clay or red clay, but it looks pretty good on white. So that's just a test. And mottled blue again on this large tile. And I think this is pretty much the blue that I'm going to be using as a standard now, because it's pretty much been infallible. It's come out of the kiln on this red clay exactly like this every single time now. I think I fired this kiln, I've done about 5 glaze fires out of here. So, and I just started using this glaze a little while ago, but it has come out like this every single time. And that's Coyote's Mottled Blue. Yeah, I thought there would be a little bit of a kiln disaster there. And there is some glaze dripped onto the shelf. I don't know what the camera can show, but a little bit of dripping at the bottom there, so we'll get down to it. So, a lot of test pieces in here, really. There's another sun tile. I'll bring that out first. Just started to introduce this design. And I think it's going to be very popular for the planters and things that I do. And that glaze is a pretty big fan of that glaze. Most of the Coyote glazes have been very good so far. I've been pretty happy with them. And I do not have a fan hooked up to this kiln, so I don't have like an Enviro fan or anything like that. So you can't really have reduction with a electric kiln, but sometimes I do notice that it has more of a look of reduction. It's usually like maybe towards the bottom of the kiln will look very different than the top. So I don't know. It's really probably not reduction, but still in all, maybe an Enviro fan would help me out a lot more. Particularly with turquoise glaze. Let me see if I can get the camera to pick that up. I've had a lot of issues with turquoise glaze. Haven't been able to get a very good one. This one, probably, I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but it has a very matte, dull look that, almost like a curdled look, I would call it. Let me see if you can see it better there or not. It's probably not. But, I don't know if it's because there's just not enough air circulation, or it's the clay, it's the red clay. The piece you're seeing at the bottom there is the same glaze on Speckle brown stoneware. Okay, so the bottom of the kiln, everything looks pretty good there. I do have a little bit of dripping on one piece. You can kind of maybe see that. I propped that up on a small post because I had a feeling that was going to happen. So let me just back out of here. I have not had to grind any pieces yet, so that's going to be kind of like a new experience for me to see if I can save that piece, which again is very hot. So let me see if I can just adjust this. This piece here is a magnet. It has the same turquoise glaze with Goldenrod Shino. It's just a fish, kind of either going to be a tile or a magnet. So let's see where we are here. Okay, now. So this glaze, if it can be seen, I don't know. It's kind of dark. It is the Sahara turquoise from Amaco. Looks much better on speckled brown to me. I poured the glaze on this piece, so it is actually not that consistent, really. It's probably should have just been dipped, or I should have just painted it and not tried to pour glaze onto it. A couple of mugs here. Let's see. This looks pretty good. This is, if the lighting was better, we could see it. I'm just going to move the camera over where it's not backlit so much. So this is Coyote's Oasis Blue on Speckle Brown Stoneware. And there is a stain on the outside of this piece only, and to show up the shells. That's made by Amaco, and that's their oxide stain. So the Oasis Blue was what I was using in the beginning, but I don't think that it picks up relief and detail as much as that Mottled Blue, but it is also Coyote, and it's a very nice oceany looking blue, so I think it lends itself really well to anything ocean themed, so I do like it a lot. It's very strange out of the jar, because it's sort of maybe like a paste. Has more of like a paste consistency. It doesn't, you couldn't dip into the pint. So it's just almost like smearing it on more so than painting it on. It's such a heavy glaze. But it does come out blue every single time. Okay, this piece, I've done this type of design before. Let's see, hopefully that's going to show up well. So what this is Potter's Choice Temmoku, and then over that is Potter's Choice Art Deco Green, which is just sort of drizzled on. I used like a chopstick to drizzle it on in a spot. I'll put the glaze in one spot and then do that or blow on it to create these sort of branch-like designs. And I think it's a very nice sort of Asian effect that it gives to a piece. I like it a lot, and it does pretty well either on that red clay that I've been using, or this is Speckle Brown Stoneware, also by Highwater. And this is a cone 6 glaze. Not glaze, but clay. So that's why I put it at the bottom, because I'm looking at my witness cones at the bottom. And it was probably going into cone 6 territory down here at the bottom, and I'll show you that in a minute. We also have a trial of a black clay. It's sort of a dark brown, something that I would like to use for my tiles, or also maybe some throne pieces. This is just a test piece. It has let's see, Coyote's Alabaster white on it. It's a satin white. And really, it tends to be pinholing pretty much on everything I've put it on so far. So I don't know about using this glaze, but I wanted to see white glaze on dark clay. That's all I really have right now. But not sold on that. But it's a dark brown, almost black clay at cone 6 anyways. And that's Standard Ceramics number 266 is that black clay. Here it is again, and I put a little bit of yellow on the bottom. It's just an underglaze that I'm painting on what glaze I used on the piece, and that's the Mottled Blue by Coyote again. And I think that so far that would be what I would probably use on this piece. I think that looks very good on this clay. Okay, just moving the camera around a little bit. Here's the witness cones. So this is at the bottom of the kiln. Get this in here. So this is 6, and that's 5. It is a full cone 5 starting to go into a 6. So very hot at the bottom. Like I said, every single time, that's pretty much what I'm getting. And I do have to have a lot of shelves in here for my tiles, but you can see the difference from the top of the kiln to the bottom of the kiln with these witness cones, and they never stand up. So let's see. They never really want to stand in these little holders, but the top of the kiln, cone 5 right here, and 6. So it is just starting to be a cone 5 at the top of the kiln, so probably maybe a full 4, I would call it. So I do try to put my lower fire pieces up there, like mostly the red clay, and there's the bottom of the kiln again, and that's the cone 5. So let me see here, there's only a few pieces left, more of the mottled blue, little turtle piece there, that's a tile, and this is a fish that is going to be a magnet probably. That was mottled blue. And let's see, I have a couple of, these are what I'm calling Japanese incense boxes, and the cover is stuck. So I'm going to have to just tap the cover off. There's just a seahorse in the mottled blue, lot of mottled blue in here. And one more test piece for black clay. This is the Goldenrod Shino by Coyote on this piece. I think that is a winner too for this black clay. It does seem to pinhole a little bit. Maybe that's going to be an issue with black clay because of the content of it, I'm not sure. So maybe just for art pieces and that sort of thing, and not so much for any kitchenware, but I think it's going to be a good one for tiles. And I have another incense box down here, which also has a cover that's stuck. So who knows? And this is the piece that dripped, and it actually took off a chunk of clay. Now that I can see, there's a huge piece of clay missing from that because it is now at the bottom of the kiln. If we can zoom in, I put it on a small post. You can kind of see that there's some clay there. Didn't work well. I thought maybe I was going to prevent it from sticking to the shelf because I had a feeling it would drip because it was too... Oh, I see what's going on. Yeah, oh well, I guess that's not going to work out. So it actually dripped down to where the piece itself is not going to ever open again, but that's okay. That's about it. And here is the pyrometric cone, full cone 5, and now they might be able to handle the frog. So here's the frog, and this is Coyote's green Shino. I think that looks very good, and that is a white slip that's used for this piece. And I think it does a very good job of showing the detail, and that's really what I was looking for. So that's Coyote's green Shino on white clay. So a little bit shinier than I would have wanted, but still pretty good. So I also wanted to try to do a little bit of not really instructional because I don't know what I'm doing yet, but to show the kiln itself and that it's a manual kiln. I know not too many people are really using these anymore, but it's been a trial and error situation most of the time. it's worked out pretty well. So why don't I take the camera off of the tripod here. So it is a Paragon, has 2 peepholes. It's a pretty small kiln. We'll take a little trip into the kiln here. You know, a lot of cracked fire brick and things like that, but it still functions very well. There's the stuck piece. That's probably sharp as a razor blade right there. So I have to try to get that off of there. Somehow, it just has the spot for the pyrometric cone. I do not have a pyrometer to measure the temperature, so I just rely on my kiln schedule, which I can post, or if you need some help with that, I can tell you how I do that. It's very simple to do. This just has the knobs on the side, you know, medium, low, high kind of thing. And I try to keep it as simple as possible so that there are no you know, reasons for it to go wrong. Not too many variables involved. It's the way I've tried to keep it so far. So it has the kiln sitter with a 10-hour timer on it, which sometimes is definitely not enough. This was probably at least a 12-hour firing schedule for the Cone 5. It took about 5 hours on high to get up to temperature. So that's it. I'm going to go ahead and sign off and take some pictures of these pieces, and I will hopefully include that in the video. Okay? Thank you.